Hello, and thank you all for joining us at Oracle Live. My name is John Chorley, and I am Oracle's Chief Sustainability Officer. In this session, we will be discussing why sustainability is a business driver, what Oracle itself is doing to become more sustainable, and how businesses around the world are looking for ways to put the planet on a more sustainable path by building more sustainable supply chains. Finally, my colleague Rich Cruz will have a conversation with Helen Hudson from Unilever, not only one of the world's premier CPG companies, but also one of the leaders in sustainability. Let's start with some facts to highlight several of the key sustainability-related challenges our world is facing. First, water, where demand is projected to exceed supply by 40% by 2030 globally. This could displace 700 million people worldwide. Today, over 2 billion people live in countries already experiencing high water stress. Next, plastics, which are incredibly prominent in supply chains. 18 billion pounds of plastics ends up in the ocean each year. There are now 5 giant garbage patches in the sea composed largely of solid and microplastic waste, and the largest, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, covers an area twice the size of Texas. And while there may be a lot of fish in the sea, by 2050, ocean plastic is projected to outweigh all of the ocean's fish. Next, greenhouse gas emissions. The global average temperature, already 2 degrees over the pre-industrial period, is increasing at an accelerating rate. The 10 warmest years on record have all occurred since 1998, and the top 5 were the last 5. A rise in atmospheric CO2 is the principal cause of these changes, and 65% of global greenhouse gas emissions come from commercial operations, where of course supply chains play a prominent role. Climate change is not the only impact of burning fossil fuels. Global excess deaths due to fossil fuel-related air pollution is estimated at almost 4 million per year, of which 200,000 are in the United States alone, a number that is awfully resonant in this year of COVID. The good news? Well, awareness and the desire to change is rising. It may be a while before we see such crowds again. This picture was taken in Montreal last year as part of a global series of climate strikes, but they will come. There are also positive lessons to be learned from our current experience in the pandemic, and that can help us carry us forward to a more sustainable future, such as less pollution and cleaner air. The challenge is to sustain these types of positive changes while also supporting continued economic prosperity. How do we build back better? For business, this all equates to a challenge and an opportunity to meet customer demand, to manage risk, and to reduce costs, both operational and environmental. How do we have economic growth and sustainability? Sustainable development is classically defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It's a 3-legged stool, of which each leg is critical: economic, social, and environmental. How do we put sustainability into practice at Oracle? The reality is that it requires a highly collaborative approach, one that includes many stakeholders across the entire Oracle ecosystem, both internal and external, all working together on a common goal of creating a more sustainable business. We take an integrated approach using our tagline of, "At Oracle, sustainability is everyone's business," to drive our actions. We also take a value-driven approach. Where can we deliver value by reducing costs and managing risk? How can we build stronger relationships with our customers and suppliers? How can we attract and retain the best talent by operating a purpose-driven company? Here are some of Oracle's key goals for 2025, centered around greenhouse gas emissions, renewable energy, supplier engagement, and water and waste. These are challenging targets, but collectively we work to meet them. Since 2015, we have already reduced our Scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emissions by 20%, putting us well on our way to meet our science-based target of 26% by 2025. Our energy emission intensity is already down over 40%. And here are some more sample data points on our ongoing performance. In Europe, all of our cloud data centers run on renewable energy. Every year, Oracle collects millions of pounds of retired hardware, of which over 99% is either reused or recycled. 88% of our key direct manufacturing suppliers have energy or carbon reduction goals in place. We recently doubled the amount of server units that could be shipped on a pallet, resulting in both logistics cost savings and emissions reductions. And after running a pilot on using reground plastics for some of our internal server parts, we have now moved to 100% use of reground plastics. Yes, supply chain initiatives are at the heart of sustainability for Oracle, indeed for any product company, including yours. And helping us meet these goals is our applications infrastructure, based of course on our cloud solutions for ERP and supply chain, as it can yours. In addition to keeping our own house in order, we also are in a position where our solutions that we provide can enable our customers to be more sustainable. As you can imagine, with our hundreds of thousands of customers, this positive leverage is enormous. So we embed within our applications the tools needed to support your sustainability initiatives. A question often asked is whether data centers are making things worse or better. The fact is that the use of IT actually helps drive sustainability. Yes, those data centers consume electricity, but they also solve problems, increase efficiencies, and virtualize processes, such as this Oracle Live event, which has eliminated a lot of travel. IT solutions as a whole have a 7 times greater positive effect than their environmental costs. Costs which of course can be reduced by powering them with renewable energy. In that regard, we have set a new goal that by 2025, all of our Oracle Compute Infrastructure, OCI, will be 100% renewably powered. Similarly, technology plays a critical role in supporting areas such as telemedicine to increase good health and well-being, economic value creation to enable decent work and to drive economic growth, food waste reduction to reduce hunger, and many other critical capabilities to help meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. What does this mean in supply chain? And what does it also mean in the solutions we deliver in our cloud supply chain software? Well, it means leveraging tools like Oracle Cloud Product Lifecycle Management that embeds design for environment, phase gates, and principles that accounts for the whole life cycle of a product. It also means using tools like our Procurement Supplier Qualification Management to better select and qualify your suppliers to ensure that they share your values and so will help to mitigate your brand risk. It means reducing waste and improving quality, such as with our cloud manufacturing that uses AI and IoT tools that predict machine failure modes and improves quality. It means to better understand demand, to match that to supply, and to incorporate environmental resource constraints and risks into that process, such as with our cloud supply chain planning solutions. Let's bring this to life by sharing the story of LeDétri's use of Oracle Demand Management Cloud.
Being a food producer, we have to provide traceability from where that ingredient came in from the field to when it came into our plant to what jar we put it in. LeDétri is a manufacturer of food, beverage, and spirits. We bring in all their ingredients, we cook the pasta sauce, we fill it into containers, really soup to nuts. At LeDétri, our supply chain is actually very complex. It really is the lifeblood of being a profitable company. We start out with a lot of fresh ingredients. A lot of them have a short shelf life, a matter of days sometimes. So it's got to be an exact, just-in-time process to produce the materials we need with as little waste as possible. Using Oracle, we're able to trace all our ingredients right to end product. With Oracle Demand Management Cloud, we've been able to reduce our inventory through increased visibility and better forecast accuracy. But even a bigger deal is really sustainability. We hate to throw good products away, and by having accurate forecasts, we've been able to reduce disposals by more than 50%, saving millions of dollars a year. One of the things I'm most proud of is really our track record with never having a recall. The majority of our production is for other people's brands, so there's a trust that we have to build with that customer. They are giving us their livelihood, and they trust us to produce products that are worthy of their brands. We've built a trust with our end consumers and with our customer base. It's a family business. It's been run like a family for more than 40 years. Oracle is one of the larger LeDétri family.
Sustainability in the supply chain also means optimizing shipments to maximize asset utilization and reduce emissions, such as with our cloud transportation management solutions. And fundamentally, it means bringing this all together holistically by closing the loop, by supporting products being taken back at the end of their life cycle. Again, let's bring this to life with the experiences of a customer, Unilever.
We're now joined by Helen Hudson, Head of Sustainable Manufacturing at Unilever in the United Kingdom. Helen, thank you for joining us in this Oracle Live session on sustainability in the supply chain.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great. So let's start by asking you to share with us some background on Unilever's bold approach to sustainability with the Sustainable Living Plan. How does Unilever see sustainability aligning with a strategic business?
Okay, Unilever's been in space for a couple of years now, and 10 years ago we launched our Unilever Sustainable Living Programme, or USLP as we love to shorten it in Unilever, that started to kind of mainstream within the business about how we can use sustainability to drive our business, but also to make it commonplace in the products that we sell. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Unilever as a company. We are an FMCG, fast-moving consumer durables company manufacturing a lot of household name products, ranging from Dove, Axe, Domestos, Cif, all the way into the foods business of Hellmann's and Lipton and Knorr, and ice creams of Walls. So we manufacture and distribute and sell to our consumers through a lot of brands. And we started the sort of sustainability journey in trying to bring that to life, measure what impact we were having, and then move towards how we could improve it. And we've done very well in certain areas over the last couple of years. And some of those kind of results and targets we've been able to deliver under that program where we've been able to get all of our factories and our operations and our offices to be sourced from renewable electricity, which of course helps greatly on the carbon footprint of what our business is producing, and also starting the journey of stripping out what is bad. So trying to remove fossil fuels and putting more renewable technologies in. We've been able to reduce our carbon footprint, so our Unilever's carbon footprint, by about 70%. But we're also mindful from the journey that we've taken and understanding, where carbon is emitted and produced in our Unilever footprint. We have an extended responsibility that goes into the supply chain, but then also goes into consumers as well. Because if you think about using, making a cup of tea, you're using energy, you're having an impact on the climate and sustainability with how you're generating that heat or that hot water. Or if you're taking a shower, you're using hot water, and again, that has a carbon footprint. So what we, have been trying to do, but perhaps not with as much success as we would like, is to try and influence that extended and value chain footprint. And even though we've been able to reduce by 70% in our own operations, we've been trying to move the needle differently, and we still have a journey to go.
Yeah, so impressive when you think about sort of the scale of how Unilever is approaching it, and how it's sort of embedded in the culture, and how it's so sort of results driven and action driven. It's just really, really impressive. So to think about the role of technology, can you share a little bit about, I know we actually recognized Unilever several years ago for the use of Oracle's logistics solution to help manage and reduce the environmental footprint when it comes to distributing new products. But can you talk a little bit more generally about the role of technology, how technology can really help achieve some of the goals that you've set for yourselves?
So as you've just talked about setting goals, in the sustainability journey, that's probably the first thing that we would recommend companies to look at. And in setting those goals, you kind of have to measure, and that's where I think the technology starts to get introduced, because data and information, technology is a way that we can look at to be able to make that quicker, better, faster, to digitalize, getting that data into the right hands, being able to analyze that, being able to just even measure it, let alone then get the value out of that, to be saying, what do we need to improve, where are our problems, where are our losses, and then looking at programs to drive that forward. So that for us within Unilever, that first kind of digital technology that we were looking at is how do we measure our carbon footprint, and that's taken some variety of of technologies. Some of it you go on to the sort of the basic databases and things like that we have to use, and then building that up into more sophisticated reporting, and then going further into sort of the technology journey. But the first point for us is measurement and data, because if you don't have that backbone, you don't know how you can have an impact, and you can improve and drive, and be a force for good in the sustainability agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, at Oracle, we have a saying that at Oracle, sustainability is everyone's business, and this idea that the functional representatives really are the ones that know where the impacts lie, and they need to have that information to really be making informed decisions on a day-to-day basis. So have you, are there any sort of key lessons? You've been in this role of head of sustainable manufacturing for a while now. Any key lessons learned, or things that you would share with folks that are maybe beginning on the journey of trying to make their supply chain more sustainable?
I think the first thing is setting that target, setting that ambition. Where do you want to go? What value is that going to drive, both for people, for the planet, but also your own business? Where is that kind of sweet spot that can really help sustainability deliver your business's main metrics, but also how do you go beyond what your sort of balance sheet or your P&L sheet is, and move it into the space of doing it for the community, doing it for the planet, and making sure we do have a sustainable business 10, 20, 30 years down the time. If we're not, if we carry on what we're doing and we overconsume, we won't have the consumers, we won't have the businesses there to be able to be profitable. So we need to start now, and setting that target and setting that ambition, it is the first point. And as you mentioned earlier, data is key, and if you don't know, even as an individual, what your impact is on the environment, if you don't understand what is good and what is not so good, or what even could be even bad, how can you then improve it? And that I think it would be some of the things that we would recommend to companies to have a look at, to really then see what damage or what footprint or what impact their business is having, both upstream themselves and also downstream in their kind of supply chains or service industries, to really then see where can they add some value.
That really makes sense. Well, Helen, I really appreciate you spending the time with us today in this this new virtual format. It's this ongoing pandemic is making us think and act in different ways. Any thoughts, actually, before, as we wrap up, about sort of Unilever dealing with COVID-19, how you've been able to manage through that, and maybe technology playing a role there as well?
For sure. So, like for many businesses, COVID, has had a significant impact both on the business, but also for the people and the that we employ, and we've had to rapidly change how we work. Many people are working from home, but we've also used technology to see how we can track and be reassured about where manufacturing has been open, where people have been displaying symptoms, and how we can then start to help them and support them and manage that from a sort of general day-to-day basis, as well as ensuring we can start to really drive this infectious disease out. whilst maintaining our business and delivering products as well that are really important to consumers in the hygiene space, that has really sort of highlighted that need to wash hands. And that brings me to where, I think kind of food for thought for people. There's a new awareness that we have to think about that we perhaps don't always think in the sustainability journey, and that's around water. And suddenly the use of water that individuals, companies, everyone across the world is looking at the moment. We're washing our hands to keep ourselves safe and to drive down the infection rate. But we've also got issues with, the world is facing 60% less fresh water over the next few years. Access to water is a basic human right, but there's many people in the world that don't have access, don't have it, that they can buy that, they can have it into their homes and houses. And these are some of the things that I think we have to start to look at, that we need to preserve water better and we need to manage it. And technology, I think, needs to play a role in that, to say, how can we get better visibility in that water footprint? And I'll give you an example from a manufacturing point of view. Often water is quite cheap in our manufacturing process. It's not as expensive as some of the more highly valued ingredients. Yet we use it everywhere. We use it in our products, we use it to clean, we use it in our utilities to be able to run those. And we don't always understand the cost of water and where it's going and how much. So if you could actually reduce it or change the way that you used water, you could have a significant impact on your business from a cost profile, but also preserving water in that area. If your manufacturing site is in a water scarce area, you're not taking water out from the community, and you're helping people to be able to live their lives. When we are seeing certain geographic locations start to have those kind of day zeros where they are running out of water and their water basins are becoming empty. So I think there's an opportunity here where technology, if you can start to visualize and use digital models, the cost of water, the true cost of water, even just in a business and in a manufacturing unit, or even beyond that, that's something, again, there's another lens that we can then start to see, is what are those programs that we can start to drive, better sustainability, better access, and help the planet and help the people on the planet have, their basic right, which is, fresh water to live, survive, grow, and prosper.
That's fantastic, Helen. It just puts things in perspective, doesn't it? It's really, it's amazing, and it's great work that you do. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your time with us today, and all the best with your ambitious and very important work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here are some additional great examples of organizations across many industries and geographies using a wide variety of Oracle solutions to make a difference. They range from leveraging AI to help address the decline of bee populations, to non-profit programs advocating for the increased adoption of electric vehicles, supported by our NetSuite Social Impact program, to the use of emerging technologies such as blockchain to help track and trace conflict minerals in the supply chain, and to the use of IoT to enable more intelligent application of pesticides to increase crop yields while reducing environmental impacts, and many more. Several come from members of our Oracle for Startups community, including one that is using Oracle's cloud infrastructure to build an interactive online marketplace platform for plastics that have been recovered from the ocean. To finish up, I want to leave you with these 3 key takeaways. First, sustainable business is good business. Second, supply chains play a critical role in helping an organization become more sustainable. And finally, technology is a key enabler to building a more sustainable future. Thank you, Rich and Helen, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. For more information, please visit oracle.com/sustainability and oracle.com/SCM. My name is John Chorley, and thank you for watching.